With all this talk about past 3D Mario games getting ported to the Switch, one game has unfortunately been elusive in these discussions. Despite being the first and only exclusively handheld 3D Mario, Super Mario 3D Land is still home to a ton of really tight platforming, great level design, and just inventive gameplay that 3D Mario is known for. It kinda does get a bad rap just because it is the only handheld 3D Mario, but it's a really tight and well-controlled game that did bring in quite a few new ideas to the 3D Mario franchise. Unfortunately, it's not really being talked about in terms of games that could come to Switch, and that makes sense. I mean, they're not gonna port a 3DS game, right? Well, chances are they won't, but they could, however, remaster some of those levels in the Super Mario 3D World port, which is pretty much guaranteed to come. This idea interested me so much that I got my friend Benji to help me, and together with his 3D modeling skills, we were able to essentially remap part of the first level of Super Mario 3D Land in Super Mario 3D World's art style. It looks awesome, and it was a really great part of this April Fool's Day video that we ended up, putting out on April 1st. However, I didn't get to talk about these clips in that video just because I had to keep that video short, so I want to talk about why I think Super Mario 3D Land would be so fun on Switch in this video, and then if you stick around till the end, I have an interview with my friend Benji who did most of the modeling for this entire project, so if you're interested in technically how we made this possible, make sure to stay tuned for that as well. So first off, Super Mario 3D Land. Will it come to Switch? The only way it would happen is if they remastered various levels in a 3D World port. Now this sounds unlikely, because it is, but they did a somewhat similar thing back on the Wii U. Obviously not with 3D Land, but this is as close as I think we're gonna get in terms of a comparison. If you had both Super Mario 3D World and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, there were levels of 3D World in Captain Toad. Obviously, these levels had to be adjusted because Toad cannot jump, but they still added them in, which was pretty cool. This would be a similar sort of thing. They wouldn't really make much sense in the context of the game, but adding in new 3D Land levels to maybe a World Leaf, like I talked about in that April Fool's Day trailer, would be a great way to not only add in extra content to Super Mario 3D World, which is something that they are supposedly doing, but it would also be a phenomenal way to get 3D Land representation on the Switch, because if both Galaxy games are coming out, like they've been heavily rumored to, and we're getting those Super Mario Sunshine remasters and Super Mario 64 potential remakes, that's all the 3D Mario games ever, because obviously Odyssey is on the Switch by default, and we'd be getting 3D World. That would be every 3D Mario except for 3D Land, which just, I don't know if, I don't have OCD or anything, but that just makes me feel like I hate how there's one that isn't on the Switch. So even just getting some sort of representation for it would be amazing. Just getting some sort of, even if it's very small, just some sort of hey, there are some 3D Land levels now in the port of 3D World. It doesn't have to be the full game, it would make everything, I don't know, it would just kind of even everything out and really complete this anniversary collection. It would also probably be easier for Nintendo than making new levels, because while they'll still have to obviously upscale all the assets and whatnot, they could just reuse a bunch of assets from the previous 3D World levels, and they wouldn't have to actually go in and design new levels, because, the skeleton of these levels already exists on the 3DS, so they could just move the blocks into the same places that they would be on the 3DS. They wouldn't have to design an entire new level, they wouldn't have to make new gimmicks, new mechanics, because all these levels are already here, they're just on the wrong system. So hopefully you guys agree that 3D Land would be a really great addition to Super Mario 3D World Deluxe. Without any further ado, I'm going to cut to the interview I had with my friend Benji. Not only was it just a fun interview because it's fun talking, but I think it was actually pretty interesting and somewhat educational, I guess, to learn how he and we kind of did this. So if this is something you're interested in, then make sure to stick around. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Alright, so I'm here with Benji, a 3D modeler / renderer extraordinaire. He helped with these videos I'll show on the screen right now, and he was probably the main reason that this video was even possible, the 3D Land section at least. So Benji, what program / programs did you use to create these models and renders?
Blender. Pretty much only used Blender for this. Obviously, you definitely helped with some of the assets from Photoshop. Yeah, pretty much only Blender. The 2.8 1 version, which is the latest stable one, which is free, by the way.
Yeah, that's basically how we did that. All right, next question. What asset or assets are you most proud of? Like, do you have a specific shot or a specific, like, model that you think came out better than the rest?
Oh, easy. The question mark block and the brick block.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Because I made both of them, so it's not anything that, like, we got from the internet or any textures. It just looks so good. Like, I think I said a couple times that the question mark block just looks yummy.
You did indeed say that.
It just looks good.
Yeah, no, it looks pretty pog. Pretty good stuff looking. I'm cutting that part out. Goddamn. I know the question wasn't for me, but if I had to choose an asset that I think I'm most proud of, or just a part, I'm most proud of the water. Because the water actually, so the issue with 3D World is it's such like a, like, it's not a very niche game, but it's like relatively unpopular, so there's not a lot of assets for it online. So like we had to make a lot of the assets. So like the way the grass connects to the land on like these blocks here, that I had to do in Photoshop, and then I had to make the water texture and obviously animate it. I did not think it would come out well, and I think it came out like perfectly, especially with the way you kind of combined it back in with the grass in that little divot down there. I think the water came out really well, which is nice because it's one of the only parts that actually animates besides like the coins and all that stuff. All right, next question. Benji, if we had more time, so full disclosure, okay, before I ask this question, I pretty much, Benji and I have been brainstorming about videos to do for a while, because we'd worked together on a bunch of videos, because we kind of became really close friends over this, like, winter, I'd say, the 2019 to 2020 winter. And then I had this idea for the video, and it was way more complicated than anything we'd ever done, and I kind of dumped it on you, 7-8 days before?
Yeah, it was the April 1st one, so I think it was, like, the 24th or 25th.
Yeah, I kind of
somewhere in our DMs.
Yeah, I kind of dumped this one on you because, especially we haven't really worked with a real deadline before. I pulled an all-nighter to get this video up. I saved way too much stuff for the end. If we did have more time, if I had come to you maybe 10 days prior, what else would you have wanted to add it, or how do you think you would have improved what we already showed off?
You can see that the grass texture here doesn't actually have that much bump, and there's some seaming here that's not great in the sides. I definitely make some normal maps, which is essentially like a reflection map, and I got some procedural bump done here, which is, it's getting a little tad bit technical, but you've got this whole complicated tree here, which essentially kind of just added some fake bump, but in the future I definitely want to work on that and get this grass in the front here maybe looking a little bit nicer. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how it came out given the time.
All right, so final question. Anything else you want to say? Any funny? I have one funny story from the development of this video. Okay. I think you know the one I'm thinking of. But anything else? Anything else you wanna talk about?
Well, I guess it's kind of a personal thing, but I'd never really done. I mean, obviously, I worked on the Switch Pro, worked a little bit on the dock, and then the Switch Lite as well. And those were really just object modeling and some, like, very few amounts of actual asset creation. Whereas this was kind of my first ever time doing level design. I mean, even though it's not really level design, it's like my first time doing a scene. And I even got some armature and weight painting done here. You can see the tree kind of waves a little bit, which is a little detail. But yeah, I think I just had a really good time overall doing it. It was just a fun time.
I 100% agree. It was a fun time. So for the funny story, in order to do the Yoshi section, we downloaded a Yoshi model that had been ripped from Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. The Yoshi came with a Yoshi egg, but for some reason the egg was named like shell dot and then whatever the file extension is, I don't even know. But so Benji, who is not a huge Nintendo fan, thought that meant Yoshi had a shell.
Oh, here it is.
Oh god. So Benji put the shell on the Yoshi as if it was a shell.
I did this whole like hour and a half long render, And then I sent it to Thomas, like, oh, look at this, like, it's so cool. Do you have any notes before we do the final? And it was just like, oh, God.
It was, well, because it was so funny, because everything else came out so well. Like, the flowers, like, the little flowers I had, like, shittily animated were, like, dancing, and, like, the giant, like, level icon thing you had was, like, rotating in the background. And then there was just this Yoshi with the egg clipped into his body, which had me dying. And with that, the video's over, so thank you so much for watching. If you stuck around this long, it means a lot. I hope you learned something, or at least just had fun and enjoyed yourself. Normally on this channel, we like to put out more highly edited videos, but especially because this one was kind of combined with like a giant interview, I just figured we'd take a more relaxed approach to Super Mario 3D Land coming to Switch. Alright, so make sure to stay tuned for all things Mario and Nintendo Switch. I'm Thomas on the Switch Stop signing off. Peace.